You unmuted yourself, right? Try talking.
Yes, hello. Are we getting sound yet? Anybody there in the virtual space? Please let us know in the chat. Marnie?
Nico trying to hear what you were saying.
Do we have anything? We have better sound. We are better. I know it's loud here. Thank you guys for joining. Can I get another comment if I'm at least audible? We're good. Oh, perfect. Woo! Thank you so much for joining us here. We are very excited to be with you. Push for Empowered Pregnancy, along with the Birthing Place Foundation, are hosting this special event for you tonight, and we wanted to bring you into the space with us. We know so many of you wanted to be here in person, but this is your opportunity to also engage in the chat. I will be your virtual host. I will bring your questions with me into the space, so please put them in the chat, and I'll make sure to raise my hand when we get an opportunity to ask. I'll ask for you. So thank you. Enjoy this movie. We are about to premiere and the opportunity to engage in conversation after.
To Bronx Bethany Church and all the people who've made this possible to use this space. I want to thank the wonderful collaborators who are part of this, including, of course, Push for Empowered Pregnancy. We have the Birth Book with Dr. Jennifer Lincoln. We have our organization, the Birthing Place Foundation, and the Panelists, a CNM, Janet Williams, Chelsea, a doula in the Bronx. We have March for Midwives. If you guys haven't interacted with the content that we have in the Founders Hall, or excuse me, in that area there, we would love for you to participate before you leave. Just know that we have an interactive opportunity where you can tell your story, right? We have an interviewer out there. We also have a whiteboard where you can lift up and share what you love about midwives. How many people have a reason why they love midwives? Okay, yes, so do I. I have many. So I hope that you might participate in that, because in this partnership, Birth Center Equity, who has sponsored our beloved Birth 50 by 50 film screenings throughout New York City, is asking us to write down why we love midwives and take a picture. And then we're going to create a carousel and have a collab post so that people can receive and spread the word on it. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit, and I'm going to invite a couple voices into the space. First off, how many of us consider ourselves a grandparent? Oh my gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 grandparents in the room. Is anyone, and you don't have to, but I'm just curious, is anyone over 70 in this space? Okay, yes, I heard, of course. Yes, so we have 3. So elders, we thank you for being who you are and what you've contributed to our community. And we also want to recognize the generations in this space. Who here considers yourselves daughters or sons? Okay, I just want to make sure we're all listening and paying attention and participating and raising our hands. Do we have a generation here, the babies, the children, the toddlers. Is anyone under 10 years old in the room? Anyone? Anyone under 10 years old in the room? Hi, yes, that's our helper right here. She's been helping us out all night. Yes, thank you. So we love the youth, and we love the fact that we are generationally impacted by the choices we make and the community we create here now today. So with that, I also want to recognize this beautiful film, which is, wait, hold on, I'm supposed to also talk about Beloved Birth 50 by 50. Flor, would you like to share? I'm happy to. Okay, so Flor, by the way, is Bronx born and bred and a wonderful community doula, and she's with Birth Center Equity, and what we are doing together is pretty amazing. We are pledging 50 by 50. What does that mean? That by 2050, 50% of births can come into the hands or with the care of midwives, all right? So that means that OBGYNs, that people, just the collaboration, including midwives, is essential. So how many of us believe in uplifting this goal of by 2050, we can do that in the United States? And so our goal is to move hearts and minds to learn more about this initiative and utilize our spheres of influence, our community, whether we are cheering from the sidelines, whether we're digging in and getting our hands dirty, or whether we're figuring out what systems level change we can initiate or support. That's all. We need everybody on deck, okay? So Brittany Russell is on deck. Who of us know Brittany Russell? Woo! Yeah, she gets a cheer. Okay, so Brittany Russell created this wonderful film called You Are Not Alone. And I'm gonna let the film speak for itself. And afterwards, we have a great panel discussion that hopefully includes you guys. But before we start the film, I just wanna check and make sure. Does everyone in the room have a raffle ticket? Okay, I see one. Who said no? Raise your hand. Okay, so we have people paying attention to you right now. And I see at least 5 people. We're gonna make sure you have a raffle ticket, okay? So thank you. And then we want to know, we want everybody to have a postcard and to have written down what you want people to know about birth or what you wish you knew about birth. So that's the prompt, okay? And then that's what we want people writing down. And if you don't have a card, a postcard, just write it on your phone, okay? So we're gonna let this film start. We're just a few minutes behind, but we'll hopefully get right back on track afterwards, all right? So let's give it up for Brittany Russell's film, You Are Not Alone.
What do you think the world needs to know about the Bronx?
The Bronx is very family oriented, and I think we forget about that. So I want people to love the Bronx for all of the different aspects that it is.
My favorite, that's easy. My absolute favorite thing about the Bronx is the fusion of food. Like, I want to eat what abuela made. Like, I need the pasteles. I need to go get rice and beans. I like that I can go to, and people can be proud of it. Like, we have festivals in the summer, like, we have food. Like, food excites people. It makes you respect people a different way. Like, I eat pasteles, but I only want a pastel if abuela made it. Like, I don't want to go to the store. Like, I want that one. You know what I mean? Like, when I get a Jamaican patty, like, I'm coming up here. Like, I don't want to be at the pizza shop getting a Jamaican patty. Like, and I like that in one day, I could eat from 6 different cultures today. And respectfully, you know, there was a family involved. Like, there were real people who made it. Like, when I go to this place and I see this same dude who been there, whatever, working because it's his family's place. Like, I like that because not only do I get to experience respectfully different cultures, people are proud. Like when you deal with people and they making you food that they family, it's such a great feeling. Like it's a proud feeling. Like people in the Bronx are proud. They want to be able to show off things. They want to be able to do things and share things. Like that's my favorite. Like the Bronx is home. Like I've literally like been all around the world, and home is home, and it's different. Like you don't get this everywhere.
My message to the world about the Bronx is that the Bronx is hip hop, but it's way more than that. So, I mean, obviously, as someone who's from Sedgwick Avenue, I love the Bronx for its contributions to the world of hip hop, but the Bronx also has the best zoo in America. And it has, to me, the greatest botanical garden in America. City Island, Johnny's on the End, which I think is the best seafood I've ever had anywhere. I don't care what anyone says. What anyone says, that fried shrimp in the Bronx, at the end, go all the way at the end, it's on the left, Johnny's in City Island. Nothing can compare to that.
What I've experienced is somewhat of an evolution in that I've always known the Bronx to be like a forgotten borough, or the place where don't tell people you're from there, you know. Yet, because of like the way my parents in particular, my mom especially, the way she revered the Bronx, I just knew like in my heart and my chest, like, no, I'm gonna tell people I'm from the Bronx, you know. And that was something that started in like elementary school. I'm just like, I'm from the Bronx and I'm at the top of my class. And, you know, I am the youngest of 4 girls, coming from an immigrant family. And, you know, I have like really big dreams, and it's only like adding to my story that I'm from this place that people look at and expect very little from.
South Bronx is coming up. I mean, the South Bronx is fancy now. It's getting out of control. I was there and I saw people from the Upper West Side. They said that they were coming. We were online to get into this party, and they were like, yeah, we came here from the Upper West Side. Unheard of when I was growing up, but this is happening in the Bronx.
You know, and the evolution that I've seen is that now people want to claim that, you know, they have some sort of connection to the Bronx. And I mean, in a nutshell, that is gentrification, right? And so I have like a deep personal commitment to like document a lot of the history that I've lived, that I see. And also in the work that I do with families and pregnant folks, to uplift that there's that beauty within this place as well. You know, I've been a doula for almost 10 years. One of the biggest things that I've like driven home for a long time is home births happen in the Bronx too. A lot of it is rooted in like, you know, setting a goal based on, again, you know, this very keen awareness that people are not expecting much of you. You know, I was a teen mom. I had my son. I got pregnant at 19, just turned 20, and he was born. And a lot of what I got was, to be very specific, you know, because you're pregnant now and you're about to have a child, you probably won't be able to advance in where work is concerned, you know, like you won't be able to get a good career, et cetera, et cetera. And for me, I'm just like, I bet, you know, watch me work. And I'll also name that the birth experience begins before you're actually in labor, you know, because there's a lot of visioning that you do, how you want it to go, how you want to feel, who you want to be there. And that was like big for me, you know, this visioning. I have this vision of, even though like the odds are stacked against me, there's not a lot of support from outside, I have this vision of having a really blissful birth, you know, and doing it in a way that was completely unmedicated. Like I'm ready. I've been watching A Baby Story on TLC. I know what this is about. But that took a turn quickly. Later in my pregnancy, I was told without very much explanation that I had to have a C-section. And the reason for that was because of my son's presentation as breech. And so now, knowing what I know as a birth worker, like there were definite solutions that could have been explored, you know, but that just threw me in a like, oh, this is all messed up now, you know. So we had my son by surgery. He was removed. I do joke with him. I say that, you know, you were surgically removed. But I had him by C-section. So now we refer to this as a belly birth. And it felt like an experience I wasn't connected to. And I've always held that as something that I would like to go back and correct, you know, not only for me, but for other people. And there's nothing against, like, C-sections are sometimes warranted and, you know, sometimes lifesavers. In my situation, it was not necessary. And so for someone like me, I'm just like, why was more not done, you know? And at the same time, I had other friends who were pregnant, similar identities as my own. We're from the Bronx, we're Black, we're underinsured due to like age and whatnot, you know, employment status. And they also, like, out of the 4 of us, 3 of us had C-sections. And I'm just like, what is that about? This is nothing like a baby story. Like, I know my mother had 4 unmedicated births, one of which, my oldest, she was breech, you know? So I'm just like, there's something strange and weird and like just changed about how we give birth. It felt very much like, okay, we're going through the motions of doing this thing that, yeah, it didn't feel, there was, what was removed from the experience was like the sacredity of birth, you know? That was what I was looking forward to, you know, like, this is special. This is like the process for any person who's going to give birth. It's a process to your like ascension. You know, after you do this, you can do anything. And it didn't feel like I was going to experience that.
In the Bronx, when I work with pregnant moms, I see both moms who feel very confident because of what their norm is and what they're used to, working with different OBGYNs and watching women go through their pregnancies and birth experiences in their family. And then I also see another half of women who come looking for resources and doulas who are scared because of what they've seen and what they've heard from birthing in hospitals in the Bronx and surrounding areas likewise. Becoming a doula has shaped my birthing experience tremendously. So I always knew that I kind of had a call to working with pregnant women, but didn't make a move until after I had my daughter because of my birth experience with my daughter. That was kind of like one of the last straws that was like, no, you need to make a move and you need to do this now. So giving birth to my daughter, I had already attended a few births within my family, very close friends, and kind of knew what to expect. So I attempted for a birthing center birth with her to have the most natural approach possible. I did end up getting my natural birth experience, but it did not happen at the birthing center. So I ended up being rushed to the hospital where they tried to bring in a bunch of different interventions. And I really had to, I feel like, advocate for myself at that point to have my expected outcome. And so I did, but I vowed to myself that as long as I was healthy, I would do my best not to have another birth in a hospital setting again. And so when I had my son in September of 2022, I did have my home birth experience with him. So there is one birth that changed me. I assisted a mother who was a VBAC, and she was due to give birth at a hospital in the Northeast Bronx. And so our goal, because at this time, there was a VBAC calculator. And this VBAC calculator was extremely biased. They have since, I guess, revised the system. But at the time, the odds against her was very low for her to be able to have her vaginal birth. So just for education's sake, a VBAC is a vaginal birth after cesarean. So her first child, she had a cesarean section. So this is now her second birth, and she kind of felt like she was robbed of her first experience, that she possibly could have been able to have her baby vaginally, but she didn't have enough information. And so this time she said, I want to bring you in. I want a doula. I want to be educated. I want my partner to be educated, and we're going to do this. And so her OBGYN immediately, as soon as she found that practice, told her, oh, well, you had a cesarean the first time. You're more likely going to have a cesarean. This time, let's get you on a calendar. And she's like, well, why do I need a cesarean again? Well, that's just standard practice. Well, I don't want to do standard practice. I want to try a vaginal delivery. Okay, but the odds are very low. Well, why are the odds very low? He could not explain that to her. The odds were very low because she had a cesarean already, obviously. The odds were very low because she was Black. Okay, the odds were very low because she was Black, and she was a Black woman giving birth in the Bronx at a hospital that has a 50+% cesarean rate for first-time mothers. So we came up with a plan, and we said we're going to labor at home as long as possible, get her body to open up so she has the best chances at, by the time she gets to the hospital, her body has done what it needs to do and gain the confidence of whatever birth team she has when she arrives there, so that they could say, okay, let's try for this because we're already almost there. And so we did. And we labored at home, and it was glorious. It was beautiful. Her toddler was hanging off her back while she's doing lunges on the floor, and we're stretching and we're breathing, and she's breathing through her pelvis, and her partner's massaging her lower back, and I'm coaching him on what to do. And we're doing hip squeezes because she's got back labor going on, and she's just feeling empowered, and she's just ready. And she's like, and we're counting those contractions, and the contractions are getting closer and closer together.
Oh, yes. So,
Does it feel like the baby's descended?
yeah.
And we're like, okay, so let's make a plan. When are we ready to go to the hospital? Are we going to shower first? We're making sure everything's in play. We've got dim lights. We've got calming music. We've got aromatherapy. We've got massaging. Even the toddler was just so zen because of the atmosphere that we created. And so she went from like literally hanging off mom's neck to kind of just being like, something's happening and it's beautiful, and I want to contribute to this atmosphere. And so she's watching, and she eventually falls asleep, and we're coming up with a plan. And so we finally got the plan, and we're like, okay, this is when we're going to go to the hospital. Now we're counting these contractions, and they're a couple minutes apart at this point. And so we go to the hospital, and we get there. So I'm there, and they bring her in, and I'm pregnant at the time. And so people are walking by, and they're like, oh, are you here for? And I'm like, nope, I'm just here to assist the birthing mom. Oh, you're a doula. Oh, okay. The conversation has completely changed once the doula name was attached. And, oh, that she has a doula. A doula's here. Okay, so I'm just waiting. And then an hour and some change passes, and they finally say, oh, you can come in. We're going to put her in a room. Okay, so she's in active labor. Yeah, she's in active labor. Okay, great. So I'm sitting with her. Did they give you any information about where you are? Did they check you? Did they ask you if you wanted to be checked? No, they haven't checked me. They just checked if my water broke, and it was proven that it was broken. So I'm waiting for a room. Okay. So that's another 45 minutes. We're sitting there. She's in active labor. We're waiting for a room. We finally get a room. Dad gets to come upstairs now. So Dad comes upstairs. It's about 2-3 hours into the process. At this point, he had to wait downstairs before he could come up. So we finally get into a room, and things are going. And so a nurse comes in, she introduces herself, and she goes, so you're trying for a vaginal birth, huh? And the mom is like, yeah, I'm going to have a vaginal birth today. And she goes, okay, you ready for your epidural? And she's like, no, I'm going to try and do this naturally. And she's like, we're going to put you on Pitocin, right? To open you up. And she's like, yeah, I said, I'm okay with that they can gradually give me doses of Pitocin to help, encourage my body to open up. She goes, okay, so are you ready for your epidural? And she's like, I don't want an epidural. I'm going to try to do this naturally as long as I can so that I can feel my body and feel what it's doing. And she goes, let me know when you're ready for the epidural, and walks out the room. It is not how long you've been in labor. It is how far you are into your labor where there's a cutoff point for epidural. And they come into the room, have not checked her, and they're just like, so we got the anesthesiologist here. You have to choose now if you want an epidural. And she's like, so I have to choose right now or I can't get it at all and I could possibly be in labor for another 10 hours? And they're like, yeah, you have to make your choice right now. So she's looking at me. I'm looking at her. I'm like, it is totally your choice. And she's just like so defeated. And she's like, as of right now, I'm in it. But maybe an hour from now, I may not be able to handle this. So she goes, well, if I have epidural, I can still have my vaginal birth, right? I said, you can absolutely still have your vaginal birth. And so she made a conscious decision that she was going to get the epidural. And so she did. And it was a mess. It didn't take. She was still able to feel things. They had to come back and do another round. They had attitude with her about it. As if, like, could you imagine coming into the room and offering an epidural multiple times? A mom finally decides she wants it and you come back with an attitude to prep her. And so she's feeling the contractions. The epidural didn't take well. She shifted over to her left side to try and kind of combat some of the pain. We were shifting her positions on the bed and the monitor moved. And so they could no longer really be able to monitor the baby's heartbeat because someone had to come adjust it. And so they all run into the room. The baby's heartbeat, the baby's heartbeat, the baby's heartbeat. She falls asleep. 10 minutes later, everyone comes rushing in the room, turn on all the lights while she's sleeping, and starts to clear out the room. So me and her birthing partner are looking at each other like, what is happening? They're literally clearing out the room, taking everything out the room. 3 minutes after, the doctor walks in and he's like, hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so and so-and-so. Okay, well, where have you been? Because we haven't seen you yet. Good to know. We've been asking for you. Nice to meet you. So she's like, what is happening? Why are these lights on? I just want to rest. And they're like, oh, at the nursing station, we lost track of the baby's heartbeat. And when we got the baby's heartbeat back, it seems to be dipping. Well, birth is stressful, right? It's stressful in mom and baby. So sometimes the heart rate is going to dip. That's okay. Has it been consistent, right? How long has there been a dip? Is it a faint heartbeat at this point? What is wrong? No, but we've just noticed some inconsistencies. And so the best course of action right now is probably to do a C-section. Didn't ask mom's consent. Did not come in and say, this is what we're kind of leaning towards, but we're going to monitor a little longer. Maybe we could shift your position. Maybe the baby doesn't like that position, but it's comfortable for you. So let's try and do what's best for baby, even if it's at the expense of your discomfort for a little while, and see if the heart rate picks up if we move you to your right side. Let's sit you up. Let's lay you back. Let's do something to see if this changes. No. We just come into the room and completely clear out the room. Now we meet the doctor, and instead of asking me my consent for a C-section, the best thing for us to do right now is a C-section. It's an emergency. Well, why is it an emergency? Because we've saw some irregularities, and instead of trying to fix that, we're just going to deem it that it's needed because your precedent shows that you need a C-section to birth your baby. So sorry for your plan. So I said, I'm sorry, doc, just 1 second. Do you want a C-section? This is what's happening. This is what they're saying is needed. You do have an opportunity to combat this and say, let's wait a little bit longer. What do you want to do? She's completely flustered and afraid, right? Because they're just saying, oh, she hears is my baby's heartbeat. There was a problem with the heartbeat. Again, this is now the second time they're saying this, right? When nobody's come to shift her over or anything. Just, I hear something's wrong with my baby's heartbeat. I'm exhausted. Okay, this epidural is not working. And at this point, at least it's something that I know. So she goes, I've done this part before, right? And I said, you have absolutely done this before. I said, and so if you decide that you want to go in for the C-section, at least it is charted territory. You've done this before and you know you can do this and come out on the other side. And so she looks at her partner and her partner's like, I'm doing whatever makes you most comfortable. And the doctor still has everybody clearing out this room. They're actually starting to unlock the wheels on the bed and she still has not consented.
In many cases, I think that providers and hospitals feel as though when doulas are present, they are given a run for their money. You know, providers see that their patients are coming in with a tendency to question you know, and they are not as willing to relinquish their power to make choices about their care and their body over to their provider. And so it makes for more work for the provider in a lot of ways, you know. Okay, I actually have to get informed consent. I'll need to explain to my patient. It won't be as easy for me to say, we're going to do this, because it's very likely that they've spoken with their doula about all of the different procedures that they could be presented with. And they're going to ask questions.
While giving birth to all my children, the first one was a vaginal birth, and the last two were, I feel, forced C-sections. My birthing experience with my C-sections were different. The first one was with my daughter, who is now 13. I felt I was being lied to. There was a doctor who had come in the middle of the night sometime, and he was ramming his fingers inside of me, and I had to make a request that he not be the physician to deal with me, because I felt like he was kind of rushing. And I guess he felt like, because of my request, it was like, that's it, enough. We're not going to deal with this patient anymore. We need to take this baby from her. So then they began to make up these things about how she wasn't breathing, the cord was around her neck, so many different things. My husband was there at the time, and he was also advocating for me. And then they began to systematically try to keep him out of the room, keep him away from me, kind of separating us using security, hospital personnel, kind of asking him to do tasks that was for me, that was really unnecessary. And it wasn't a good experience. I also had complications after my daughter, because the incision tore. So I had to go back to the hospital to be re-sewn. The last C-section I had, I will be honest, I would have to take personal responsibility, because I chose to stop. I didn't feel that I was getting the proper care. I did not want to be laid down. I understood what the birthing process was now at my last child. I knew how I wanted to be positioned. I knew what my birthing plan was, and the hospital was fighting me against that. And there was no leaving, because it was coming. So I chose to have him removed so that I could then further advocate for what was happening, but I could not do it in labor. I was absolutely ignored about the discomfort I was experiencing, the request that I was making in order to adjust so that I could be in a position to be well and keep my child well. They were absolutely ignored. The hospital forced what they wanted on me, which caused me to be in a situation where I was in labor and advocating at the same time, because I was so busy fighting for something else. So I ended up going to the hospital to have the baby, to, I don't want to say prove a point, but to make something happen that I hadn't have happened for me before. And that was to give birth the way I wanted to.
There's a clear power dynamic at play. I alluded to that a little bit, where there's this expectation that I'm the doctor and I'm the professional, so listen to me. And many patients are very willing to do this, and for good reason too, I will name, because we don't live in a society where there's a lot of education around preparing for birth. So there's so much uncertainty, there's a lot unknown, and people are willing to have someone tell them what to do. When in reality, this is this is an in your body sort of experience, and you are the best and only expert of your body, so what you are inclined to do, to ask about, related to what's happening during birth, is just as valuable as any medical training that the doctors received.
One thing that I observe a lot about mothers in the Bronx is that a lot of time and energy is focused on struggle and survival, more so than figuring out how to thrive and like grow and do greater things. Like most of the time is spent trying to figure out like, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to get there? How am I going to have enough time for this? Is it going to be safe? How do I make it safe? Or how do I have enough? Like a lot of my experiences with Black mothers, those are the conversations. Like, how do I have enough? And not so much, how do we create more? How do I get extra? Like, we're not even at that space. Like, so many of the mothers I interact with every day are just trying to figure out how to survive. The way that the programs are set up, the way that our housing is set up, like, it's a systemic issue because there are so many different levels of what is involved in making my environment set up so that I can be healthy and I can do the healthy things that I want. Like, if NYCHA, because we have so many people living in NYCHA, if we had NYCHA responding in a respectful and responsible way to things that were broken, like that could be helpful and less stressful. If we had programs that, like, when they give us food stamps and farmers markets and all of those other things, that we didn't have to use them at C-Town. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, they say you could use them at a farmer's market, but like where? If you live in Southview, like where is your farmer's market for you to put, okay, I'm gonna go get these things? Like, there's so many different levels of like who could impact whether or not we have a better experience being pregnant in the Bronx. I think these environmental factors are a huge deterrent to being able to like do higher level things. So if you have to spend so much of your time trying to figure out all these other things, then you don't have the space and time to plan bigger. It's like, if you're on the outside looking in, you could be like, oh, all you have to do is, you know, spend a little bit of time doing this. If you wanted to spend an hour a day learning this extra skill, you could make more money. But if you don't have an hour because you have to wait for the 5 bus that may or may not come, or if you have to do all of these things trying to figure out, like, get my apartment fixed, get whatever, you don't even sometimes stop to think, if I spent this hour doing this, or maybe I don't have the time to exercise. Whereas other people go, well, I just get up at 6:30 in the morning in my peaceful wherever I live and I do whatever. But that's just not an option when you have to get up so much earlier because you don't know whether or not the bus is going to come on the schedule that's there, or you don't know whether or not the 6 train is going to come, or if it's going to stop. Like, you have so many different things that you have to focus on. It doesn't even give you space to like take that deep breath or to take 30 minutes for yourself to do whatever exercise that could have helped you. Like, it's just really frustrating being able to go through the day, like fighting every single piece of like what could have been a, you know, simple thing.
The Bronx is the blackest county, the blackest borough, and it's the poorest borough. So this is about broad economics. This is a quantitative. This is, unfortunately, there 44% of the residents of the Bronx are Black. That's almost twice the percentage is in Manhattan. Okay, you've got the per capita income in the Bronx is $25,000. This is according to the census, right? It's the only borough with a per capita income that's in the 20s in New York City. So these are the broad demographic factors that are impacting maternal outcomes. The Bronx has the highest unemployment rate of the boroughs. And we know that, unfortunately, employment and healthcare are very intertwined, right? Many people get their health insurance through their jobs. So broadly speaking, because we have a society, unfortunately, where medical bias persists, whenever, with some rare exceptions where I've yet to see, wherever you have a higher percentage of Black people, you're going to have a higher percentage of maternal mortality.
Number one, our voices aren't heard enough. And so I think in the Bronx, as per a couple years ago, the statistics were per every 100,000 live births, there are 41.7 Black maternal deaths. And they tried to say that that was the lowest that it's been in decades. And to me, that is 41 women too many if they are in a hospital setting with everything you need right there to intervene if it's needed. That's too many deaths. And I think it was 23% of all births ended in maternal death, and 55% of that 23% were Black women. Too high. Now, from my experience on being in the birthing room in the Bronx now, I can see why. I can see why. From me being not so far away in Brooklyn on a birthing bed, trying to advocate for myself, I can see why. Because everyone thinks they know best. Nobody thinks that the birthing mother knows best. Nobody thinks that the birthing mother knows what they're talking about. And when you're pushing a call bell for 2 hours because you have chest pain and they came in and offered you some ibuprofen instead of a chest x-ray to see if you have blood clots, and you're advocating for yourself and saying, I need more, and no one's giving you more, and then 2.5 hours later, God forbid you have an attitude because no one's listening to you, which makes them now really not listen to you because you're the angry Black woman here. I understand why those numbers are as high as they are. It's happening because no one's listening. No one believes us. We're dramatic. We're angry. My college friend, mid-Bronx, at a hospital, goes to give birth. This is during COVID. Her OBGYN was having televisits. All right, so she couldn't go in to get a proper ultrasound and things that she needed. They're giving her televisits, all right, until it's time for her to go into labor. And she's telling them on these televisits, something doesn't really feel right. But this is my first pregnancy, so I'm not sure. All right, I don't know what it is, but something just feels a little off. Well, you're okay. Your body's preparing for birth. Are you having Braxton Hicks? They told her to get a blood pressure machine. Let's check your blood pressure, from home. It's time for her to give birth. She goes to the hospital. She's in labor. Something doesn't feel right. But she ends up giving birth to her baby. Her baby came. Her baby was ready to come, and her baby came. Her baby came. She's giving birth. It seems like all is said and done. It's not, right? This is where mothers need the most attention on them, especially Black women. She gives birth to her baby. She's in a hospital bed. She's advocating. Something doesn't feel right. Something is off. I don't feel good. She died. She died. Because they did not listen. Nothing's wrong. You just gave birth. Nothing's wrong. Everything's just regulating. Nothing's wrong. All of your organs are just trying to go back into place. Nothing's wrong. Your uterus is just, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. And her boyfriend had to leave the hospital with their baby, and that baby had no mother. And she advocated. So those rates are so high because they're still not listening. And they think they're only not listening if the doctor's white. No, they're not listening if the doctor's African. They're not listening if the doctor's African American. They're not listening if the doctor's Indian. They're not listening if the doctor is Middle Eastern. They're not listening if the doctor's Asian. They're just not listening. They're just not listening. We're dramatic. They know best. Because everybody else on the floor is okay right now, you're okay too. My shift is almost over, so voice that concern in an hour. Let them know the same thing you just told me and see what they say. They're just not listening. So the numbers are still high. They're still high. They're too high.
To me, I think motherhood is about the purest sense of empathy. And I remember when I was a kid, I was very excited because my mother bought me a 7-Up. And this was so long ago that 7-Up was in glass bottles. And I remember I was running with it and I dropped it and I fell on it and one of the glass shards cut me. And my mother wasn't aware that I had been cut, but when I cried, she started crying immediately. It was like a reflex. And to this day, if I ever cry in front of her, sometimes she doesn't even know what I'm crying about. She'll start crying too. And so I think that's in its purest sense what motherhood is. It's a connection that goes beyond logic. It's a connection of empathy and understanding and love. I was brand manager of Wild 'N Out for Nick Cannon. I was a producer on TRL with Carson Daly years back, and I did MTV Spring Breaks and MTV New Year's Eves. And I realized at that point that I could take everything I had learned about creating content and create entertainment grade pre and postnatal fitness content that would encourage all women to reap the massive benefits of pre and postnatal fitness. The personal reason I decided to launch Expect is because my sister became pregnant with her first child at an older age, which is considered high risk. And her doctor, Rachel Villanueva, recommended that she exercise to reduce her heightened risk factors, given her age. And this is in line with the science. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists recommends pre and postnatal fitness broadly. So Rachel Villanueva, a fellow of the ACOG, as we call it, recommended that my sister exercise in pregnancy, and my sister listened to the doctor's orders. I was there the night that she went into labor, and her husband and I, we got her in the car and we went down to NYU, and he dropped us off. Well, he went to park the car. The labor was so fast. The OBGYN was in the room for 15 minutes. There was no epidural. There was no C-section. There were no complications. And this is for a Black woman over a certain age in New York City, where at the time, Black women were 12 times more likely to die of pregnancy-related causes than white women. And as the OBGYN who was delivering my niece, as she was walking out of the room, she looked back at my sister and she said, "You exercise, right?" My sister said, "Yes, Dr. Villanueva told me to." And she said, "I've noticed that women who exercise have labors like this." The reason that we believe Expect Fitness can be a huge impact for women, especially Black women, is that there's this bias that persists in the medical world that we unfortunately believe may be intractable. I mean, there have been people who have been trying to solve this issue of racism and bias in America for a very long time. And we can argue it's actually getting worse, right? So one of the things that we say is, you don't have much control as an individual over whether or not you're going to give birth, and the nurse and the doctor, and this is about Black women, you don't have much control over whether the nurse and the doctor who are seeing you at the time are suffering from bias. Or if the nurse and the doctor you're seeing at the time are just burnt out, as so many of them are, and rightfully so. Our argument is you want to give yourself the best chance to have a great outcome and come in without complications so that bias doesn't even have an opportunity to present itself.
In our county that has been working just consistently and passionately on addressing the high rates of maternal mortality and morbidity that we face in the Bronx. And right here in the city of New York, Black women 9 times more likely to die during childbirth than any other category of women. 9 times. That is a real number. And it's outrageous and it is unacceptable. And to me, everything is about education. It's about access, it's about opportunity, and it's about making sure that we create that equity in a system that for far too long has been inequitable and has not treated Black and Latina and women of color fairly, right? We have not had that level playing field. We've not been able to come to the table in a real equitable fashion. Every day we strive to break down those barriers, to not look at statistics, but to create success stories, to set mothers up for that success story that we know they can absolutely achieve, to get them to see sometimes beyond their neighborhood, beyond their zip code, and see the possibilities, because systemic racism is real. It's real in healthcare, it's real in housing. housing, it's real in education, it's real in our everyday lives, where women are at a disadvantage just because of who they are, what language they speak, what they look like, and where they live. And as the Bronx Borough President, as the first African-American and the first woman, my deputy borough president, the first Latina, the first Dominicana, the first immigrant, I refuse to allow our borough to be left behind. I will not accept the floor, but I'm going to aim for the ceiling, because our sisters deserve it. They deserve everything that every other community and neighborhood rightfully gets. So if it means we have to yell a little bit more, stomp a little bit more, walk the streets, advocate, get in the communities and talk about these issues, then we will do that, because we know the data, we know the statistics. We've seen so much happen in our borough, from pandemics to epidemics, everything you can think of, the Bronx has been at a disadvantage. But I know that we will no longer be first in everything bad and last in everything good. And when it comes to healthcare, this is really about equity, because it's an injustice if Black and Latino women are denied those opportunities. It's not fair, and we won't accept it, not for any mother, any woman in this borough, regardless of who you are. So my message with healthcare and equity is about education, it's about outreach, it's about resources, tangible resources like what we're doing to open a Bronx birthing center. It's long overdue. It hasn't happened. Other boroughs have it and we don't.
Doing such tremendous work. And I just want to say, sometimes it's about the people that matter. Sometimes a little extra money matters and can help. And so I also want to announce while you're sitting here, to close the gap, you need to expand the Morris Heights Health Center and bring back the services. $8 million for you today.
And under our administration, we will get it. The Bronx Healthcare Consortium, that's composed of all of our incredible birth workers, doulas, and midwives that represent our hospitals and FQHCs. They do this work every day. They are dedicated, and we're intentional in getting this work done because we know the demand is there. And most importantly, I see the faces of my sisters behind those numbers. I see mothers, I see women, I see so much opportunity that lies in this borough. But guess what? If we don't get the resources, then it's not going to happen. So as a leader, as the leader of this county, as I sit at tables and I'm making decisions, my sisters stand with me, because I know that there is a mother out there or a woman out there that wants to have a child, or who is told that she can only have a C-section, which we know that happens to Black and Latino women. And we want to make sure that our women are educated so they, you know what, they can test the doctors. They don't have to accept the rhetoric that they're being told, but they can counter those arguments. And that doesn't always happen because of culture, language differences that we face. And sometimes we just don't know. If we haven't been shown something better, then how do we know that what we have today isn't the very best, right? And so that's what I talk about when I say not accepting the floor, but rather aiming for the ceiling.
My hope is greater protection, greater reverence, greater protection and greater reverence for Black women in the Bronx is really, really critical to ensure that we get to a space where what's standard is that we don't have to worry about what the outcome of our pregnancy and birth will be. And it will be very easy to secure and access support for these really pivotal moments in our lives. And we'll feel held. You know, to be protected is to feel held, to feel supported. And I think that is of utmost importance for Black women, specifically in the Bronx.
I'm pretty sure that I will cry at every change. There's so much change. You know, they've got insurance covering us doulas now. They're like acknowledging us doulas now. We're finally not a part of the count in the hospital rooms, right? It's like, oh, you can have your 2 support people and your doula. Imagine that. There are strides being made. We are at city council meetings. I'm in everybody's state and everybody's business because I'm there to advocate. Put me on the podium. Just give me 1 minute to speak so I can tell you how important we are to birthing moms.
My message to Black mothers of the Bronx is you are not alone. I am a Black woman. I am a daughter. I am an aunt. I am a sister. And we come from the same spaces and places. And as your representative, I want to make sure that you know that I stand with you shoulder to shoulder. I am sympathetic to what you're going through because many of your struggles are my struggles. But through it all, our circumstance does not define who we are. And every setback that we have faced as Black women, as mothers and wives, has been our preparation for a comeback. I see you. I hear your story. I share your story. And I want you to know that every day I wake up on purpose, with a purpose to make a difference in your life, the life of all of our sisters, because we are queens and we have to realize that our children need us like never before. So even when we may not want to smile, we smile anyway because we want to brighten up someone else's day. And that is my message to every Black woman that lives in this borough that is struggling. You are not alone, and we are here to help you in your greatest time of need.
Like the Bronx being a perfect Bronx would be a place where we can dream and stay here while we achieve those dreams. Like if you want to go out and visit places and come back, but the Bronx needs to be a place where if I want to get up and go jogging at 6 a.m., I can do that and be safe. If I want to buy organic fruits and vegetables, I don't need a car. You know what I'm saying? Like if I want to go to the same doctor for years and know them and have them know me, let it be here. Like I want to be comfortable and feel safe enough to just wander freely, but also safe enough to dream and safe enough for my children to dream and not feel like I have to leave here to get it done.
I've lived my life so long not being able to experience what Black women want to see as a world, what Black women know to be good for community or for home life or for themselves. Is so saturated and so whitewashed with America's forceful notion on who we're supposed to be. I would love to see just Black women thrive and help other Black women. I want to see Black women be at the top of everything because for so long we have been considered the bottom of everything. That's where I would love to see our Black women.
One of the things that drives us is giving women a sense of empowerment over at a time when there are so many forces that are making them feel disempowered. When you're pregnant, you are at your most powerful. You are so powerful. You are bringing another life into this world. You are as close as a human will get to being God. So don't ever feel like you don't have control. This is the time you have the most control. Wield it.
Out loud right now, I'm going to walk around with the mic and hear from you. What is something you wish you knew or you wish your community knew about birth. Anyone want to participate in that? During pregnancy, after pregnancy? Yes, absolutely. Can someone else put their voice in the mix? How about from the, if there's any engagement on online, you can read one of those. And with that, I will share what I wish people knew. I would knew more of birth. I teach childbirth education. It's one of our key programs that the Birthing Place offers. We teach 50, 60 families a month in English and Spanish. And every cycle, I have a feeling of, wow, this is so impactful when people are sharing their experience about what the knowledge that they've gained, what they plan to apply for the pregnancy, the labor, and in postpartum. That is really important to me. And so the book, the birth book, happens to be a deep dive into all things birth. So a lot of times we have the preparing for birth and the postpartum, and all of that's very valuable. But this gets down to the nitty gritty. Like, what is a fetal scalp monitor? Those are kind of things that we're like, well, we don't have time to get into all that in childbirth education. But if people just knew a little more because they went into the equation just wanting more information, that positions them to be better advocates for themselves. So I'm going to go start this raffle, and we're going to give 5 books away. These are for the birth. 544016. Yay! 544031. Yes. And if you want to give your book to someone, I'm a big lender of books. I have a book right now that is on its 3rd midwife. And I'm like, when you're done with it, give it back because I want to pass it to the next person. So share your book if you want to do that. And we have 544006. 006. Yay! Yes, hi! Oh my gosh. So I just got to give a shout out. Mariam Reproductive Health and Wellness Clinic is our wellness reproductive center. And we have one of the people who work with us at reception and supports our naturopathic doctor to get people their care. We have a midwife, OBGYN, and plenty pelvic floor therapy, lactation, group, village prenatals. We have a lot of stuff there. And if anyone is seeking like fertility care or anything that has to do with your reproductive health, I don't care what generation you're in, like reproductive health is important. So we do want to give you some info so you can see us. Hi. Okay. And then we have, oh my God, 2 more. 026 is the last 3 digits. Yay! Okay. And then finally, 015. 015. Yes, okay. Okay, I'm gonna borrow it. Okay.
Hello, everyone. We have our other wonderful host here, Marjorie Vail, who will give you a quick little what PUSH is about, because we don't know that, we don't want to assume that you know that we do what we do, even though we're trying hard to spread awareness.
Before I do that, I just want to thank My Swaddle, who was a sponsor for the books and PUSH for the bag. So we just, Kia, stand up, please. She's going to be our moderator for the night. So all of this is possible. We're so grateful to have to be able to give the books on that, that you can share it, right? Community, that's what community is all about. We're Push for Empowered Pregnancy. We're one of the sponsors of this event. We're so happy to be here. Actually, the work that we do is in conjunction with the work that Myla does and the work of the organizations here tonight. We are women, 8 of us. We all experience a stillbirth. You know that Black women are 2 times as likely to experience a stillbirth, right? Just as much as 3 times as likely to die while giving birth. And so our goal, right, is our mission is really conjoined with them in the sense that we don't want you or your family member to get to our experience, right? We want our birthing mothers, our birthing parents, our birthing people to go home safely with their babies, right? And so the work that we do is about prevention. We want to prevent stillbirth. And so the way to do that is to do the work that you're doing, right, with midwives, birthing centers, things like that, to ensure that mothers are being heard, right? Because many of us, what happened is we lost our babies because we weren't listened to, right? You can be middle class, you can be upper class, person of color, it doesn't matter. The first thing that people see is your skin color. They don't care if you're educated, they don't care about anything, right? And so prevention is major for us, right? And so at Push, our goal, right, is by 2035, we will end preventable stillbirth. We know that many stillbirths cannot be prevented, but many stillbirths can be prevented. And so we're just so thankful to be able to be a part of this. We're thankful for Brittany for creating such an amazing movie. I'm not from the Bronx, I'm a Brooklyn girl, but let me tell you, I was so moved by what I saw, and I pray, our hope and our goal is that we hear less stories like that and more stories about mothers and babies going home safely. And so we know that the next step is the panel, and so I'm gonna pass it on to you.
So much. Let's give it up for Push for Empowered Pregnancy. And again, for collaboration. It is so amazing to work with the people who have all agreed to be a part of this panel and to moderate. Thank you. And Janet. And so let's call up our team of panelists. We have Dr. Jennifer Lincoln, OBGYN, author of the Birth Book. We have Dr. Janet Williams, midwife. Also has, yes, who maybe had their baby taught by Dr. Janet? Yes, okay. And we have Chelsea White, a Bronx-based doula, childbirth educator, student midwife. Yes, 2 student midwives. Ashley Spivey, a parent panelist with lived experience of birth trauma and loss. And the additional voices that you've heard from, Anna, who's moderating our virtual friends, and myself, and Marjorie from Push for Empowered Pregnancy. And I want to just give another wave for repping Birth Center as well, Flawed. So yes, with that, I'm going to pass it to you all.
Okay, that's better. Thank you. I would like to thank the panelists and for everyone for coming tonight to have this important discussion and to be a part of it. So let's just dive right into it. I'm going to ask one word. I want you to give me a one-word phrase that came up while you were watching this film. So a one-word phrase while watching this film. Before you do that, I'll ask all the panelists just to give me your name, your role, and the field you say. My name is Janet Williams. I'm a midwife of 25 years now. They call me Dr. J. I'm retired from clinical practice, but I was at North Central Bronx for 21 years, and I'm now traveling as an author and do a lot of presentations. The one word that I felt when I watched the film, the only word that kept coming up was sing. I listened and I heard what the women were saying. I listened about the systemic racism. I listened about the systemic problems in the neighborhood. These are things that I saw in my office. And what I always said is that the care that we give in a hospital setting is just the tip of the iceberg. You have to know what the living experiences are of the women that are coming to you, because that is going to definitely impact the care and the pregnancy.
I was born in Queens, and author of the book and I would say the word that came out, it really came up with business, just to see something like that and to see research is not a better. And this is a perfect example of it's an experience that I'm able to see women who are saying that this
My name is Ashley Spivey. I consider myself a good influencer. I was on a reality show a while back, and for whatever reason, people seem to like me and follow me on social media. And instead of selling people things, I really wanted to use my platform for good and point out efforts and advocacy. I started out with blood donation and organ donation, and after I suffered a stillbirth at 31 weeks in 2020, I've really tried to lend my efforts towards stillbirth prevention and making sure families in New York actually get paid leave after suffering a stillbirth, which they do not get. So I try to do what I can with my platform. The word I thought about was responsibility. And so, with my platform, I want to talk about everything that I saw in the film because I really feel like it is my responsibility to get that information out there. So I will do better at that.
Hello, everyone. I am Chelsea White. I am the full spectrum doula that you saw in the documentary. She announced student midwife. I haven't officially announced that to everyone yet, but yes, I am currently becoming a traditional midwife. All things, all things maternal health is pretty much what I do at this point. So I'm glad to be here. I serve all of New York City and even Connecticut. So just having a broader range of impact is just wonderful. And I'm glad to be here with you all. My one word would be necessary. Every time I watch it, I see something new. And it's humbling as we film this, what now was 3 years ago. And so just all of the growth and how relevant the stories still are, I think that this film is still very necessary.
And how's the baby?
Oh, babies are doing great.
Excellent. So in terms of accuracy of the film versus hospital reality, what part of the film felt more accurate to what you see on the hospital floor? And I'll start with you, Dr. J. What felt accurate was the silence, I think. Not in the absence of sound, but the silence of things that weren't said. Patients feeling not heard, concerns being minimized. That moment when someone says something's not right in my body, but they don't yet have the language or the fortitude to speak up and be heard. That part is still very real. What's improved, I think, is the awareness. We are talking more about violence and systemic racism. We're naming these disparities. However, there's more conversation about maternal mortality, especially in Black women. But that hasn't changed enough because this is how awareness doesn't show up at the bedside sometimes. We're talking about it, but it has to get to the bedside to make it. Dr. Lincoln?
I'm so sorry. I get a lot of people who often, especially when they work with you, keep comparing to my friend, who works in the Bronx, who gets to work with you. He's here tonight. I think that what saddens me is that this is the accurate reality for many people in hospitals. And it saddens me because it doesn't actually the hospital system I practice in doesn't we could talk about that all day, but I feel that we do an amazing job. Hearing some of these things shocks me, but it also doesn't shock me because I am very active on social media. People say all the time, so they all know. So it makes me realize that even though my system, I feel that we do a great job listening, and some of these things wouldn't happen, but we're still not perfect, and we have to acknowledge it. But your outcome should not be based on your zip code, the color of your skin, the hospital system you have your baby in, and yet all of those things are still true. So how do we continue to work to change that? Because you can't always change. People say, well, just move somewhere else where the rates are better. Well, bless your heart. A lot of people can't do that, and they shouldn't have to do that to access that care. So these things are hard to watch, but very necessary. And the people who live in places where that isn't the reality, those are the people who even more have to work to advocate, to say, hey, we can do it better. Let's show you how it is working. So stop using the excuse that it can't be better, because it is, and everybody should have access to that.
I really wish what do you see different failing families and how do midwives help?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are a lot of systems in place against families of color. The healthcare system is a big one, right? But I would have to say that I think the economic system is the biggest one. And we just are going to call a spade a spade there. Our economic system directly influences our hospital quality. There's a huge segregation in care there. What I do remember is that 75% of Black women that give birth tend to give birth at hospitals that predominantly serve Black communities. And what you see there is less resources, right? What you see there is higher interventions, higher C-section rates, higher risk of complications, and the list is endless. But what systemically it directly influences is the quality of maternal care. And so, we're just gonna call, again, a thing, depending on where you live. And again, we talked about it earlier, and even Myla definitely touched on it. Like, it doesn't matter your economic status either. What matters is your proximity, or, your OBGYN, where they serve out of. Like, you can live in Pelham Bay all you want, right? But if your doctor serves out of Montefiore, or, a hospital that is based in a lower economic, based community, that's where you're going to be treated, and that's where you're going to be cared for. And it matters. And I'm not, labeling any one hospital, but what we do see is that there is a lower standard of care and a higher rate of failed interventions at certain hospitals in our neighborhood. So economic system 100% would be number one for me. Yeah, I think that midwives and doulas are imperative. One, right? Like, hip squeezes and massaging is wonderful, but what any real good doula should do, because midwives are putting in the work, they're putting in the education, and they know, how physiologically birth is supposed to work, and, they're doing the work. But some of the doulas, right, everybody's why and purpose is very different. But I do think that there needs to be a baseline of education there, so that you can be a good advocate. Your presence, and like doula's presence in general in the room, sometimes just shift things, because it holds our providers and our care team to a certain standard of saying, oh, this family may have a little bit more education. This family has put in the work, or even invested in a way to have this doula, and they may be coming in asking those questions and wanting to be involved and making those informed decisions. And so presence is the first thing, but also obviously that dedication that midwives and doulas are doing with their trainings, and making sure that we are well equipped to equip these families to make the proper decisions, even influencing their care. I have a lot of families that hire me as soon as they pee on a stick, and they're like, listen, this is the OB I was thinking about, and this is where they practice out of, and do you have any recommendations for OBs in the area? And that's why I love making relationships with OBGYNs, where we work well together. We have like a really nice, cohesive, kind of relationship, because yes, I can now recommend this family in this area to you, and I know they're going to receive a certain quality and standard of care. And so all of those things matter.
I mean, I did see a little bit of my story in there. What happened with my son, CJ, is that I went to the doctor that day at 31 weeks. This was a very routine appointment. I had started rotating doctors at that point, and the doctor said something to me about him moving a certain number of times in an hour. An alarm bell went off in my head, and I knew that I did not feel him move that much that morning, but he was kind of more tired in the morning anyway. So I mentioned it to her. She kind of just said, as long as his heartbeat's okay, he's okay, don't worry about it. I know now those were two major mistakes. As soon as I said that there was reduced movement, she should have sent me for an ultrasound. I should have advocated harder. I should have known that, the heartbeat is one of the last things to go when your baby is in distress, so that didn't mean anything. But I went home, and something didn't feel right after 5 hours. I called my doctor. She told me to immediately go in. And so there was about 5 hours in between my doctor appointment when I went into the hospital, and he had died in that time. And, that's hard to live. And it's something that does never go away, I have a healthy baby girl now. She's 3. And luckily I had a much better experience with her. But, I've learned to advocate better for myself after that. It's something I tell people all the time, how to monitor those movements, because, I sometimes I lay awake at night thinking about the fact that since that happened to CJ, 60 babies are stillborn every single day. There is no reduction in stillbirth in this country, and I don't understand why we're all okay with it, So that trauma never goes away, but hopefully I'll be able to make some differences and save some babies by using my platform. Thank you.
Let's talk about racism. You write clearly that racism is race. How do you see that play out in
Well, I think. Oh. I think we saw in the film what happens. I think it is really important what I put in my book is why do things. Race is a risk factor. No, you correct that shape. Because there's nothing in race because it's so different. And just saying those words out loud, I think are really important to acknowledge that. And then what to do about it is you can't fix everything all at once, right? But what can you do as somebody who might be the recipient of that racism, calling out that you shouldn't have to do anything. However, there's something you want to do and you feel that you need to. It is educating and preparing yourself. And it is having people there who can advocate for you. So we have data to show that when people are cared for by people with racial congruences and look like them, with similar backgrounds to them, they have better outcomes, not just in pregnancy, but even in pediatrics. There's data to show that. But you might not always have access to them, right? So assuming that you can is a privilege. But who else can you bring in the room with you who might not have access to that? So what's the plan C? It's knowing what you should have a right to. And that's what breaks my heart about this film. And I'm sitting by other OBGYNs who are going, oh my God. These things should never have happened. And it's not that knowing better would have prevented all of them, but just having some information. And it is not that people show up to have their babies and they're not trying, right? When you have visits that are maybe 15 minutes, which includes the rooming and the blood pressure cuff and giving the pee, when you actually see the doctor or midwife for like 5 minutes, right? And people can't even get in to be seen in the first trimester because of what so much of a mess our healthcare system is. And then you go into pregnancy not even knowing how your body works because maybe you grew up in a state where you didn't even have comprehensive sex education, or it was completely misinformed, as 42% of American children who attend public schools are. They're in states where that sex education doesn't even have to be accurate. So my point is that you were set up to fail. We are getting the results we're set up to. So how do we break out of that? We educate ourselves. And so yes, my book is one resource, but there's lots of resources out there. But the point is,
is educate yourself as much as you can and know that you have a right to so many things, and you have a right to ask why and ask questions, because you ask questions at the mechanic, you ask questions when you get your hair done, you get to ask questions when somebody is doing something to you in what may be the most intimate and hugely potentially traumatic, but hopefully not, but the biggest experience of your life. You deserve to have that information. And again, you shouldn't have to do these things. This is how the system should be set up, but sometimes the best offense right now is a good defense, and it's going in and saying, I know I deserve better. How are we going to get there?
I think that midwifery care is grounded in understanding, and it's grounded in normal. We look at normal physiologic birth, and I think that's a big part of this. And we look at it that way until it's proven otherwise, okay? Midwifery centers on trust and education. So what you're saying is right up my alley. It's about education, education, education. And as many people that can come with that person to their visits, I used to invite the partner and the doula. We would have a whole room full of people, because the more people that learn and hear the same thing that you're talking and telling the patient, the more people that can support her and know exactly what is being taught. So the doula knows the exact same thing the husband knows and that I know. And that when they come in, that's a very powerful team when they come in like that. And it centers on trust. And we don't remove people from rooms and take away the support of that mom. It's so important that that mom has that support and collaboration with hospitals. What that means to me is that we work within a system. I was in a hospital setting, and I've traveled all over the world, and I have to say that I was very lucky to be here at North Central Bronx. I hear such different experiences other places where they don't have midwives and they don't allow doulas into the system where the mothers are coming in. And there needs to be a seamless transition. I am all for birth centers and home births. And when a mom needs to be transferred, it needs to be seamless. That family should feel like they're getting support, not that they were pushed off, but they should feel that they got what they needed. And if they need to come to the hospital, they're coming into a supportive environment where we're there to just continue their pregnancy journey.
So in terms of Black and brown families, where do you see Black and brown families most dismissed or harmed? And I'll give that to you.
It's a good question. In all my years of experience now, and I think my answer would have been differently, like placed differently in other years, but I would have to say I think they are most dismissed in postpartum. After the baby is born. There's a huge hustle and bustle. You are definitely assigned a team and a care team and a provider and all of these things while you are in labor, especially while you are on this like clock, right, to have your baby. And there's all these things put in place for the way you're going to deliver your baby and when interventions are going to be, introduced if needed. And there's just so much care. And then the baby's born. Right, and baby may not be jaundiced. Baby's doing well, no respiratory issues. Baby's doing excellent. You go up to maternity, and it is so quiet a lot of the times. And now, there isn't really a big incentive for like major intervention or quick movement, right? And so if mom is complaining about something that feels off, doesn't feel right, maybe whatever it is in her body, it could just be emotional, God forbid, right? Mom's in shock or, not really connecting with baby yet, or whatever the needs are. I just see time and time again that the care team just isn't equipped to hear it in that way. It's just like, well, your vitals look good and we're here, ring your bell if you need me. It's not as the presence dwindles when you transfer from L&D to postpartum. And then a lot of people don't want to stay in hospitals long, and most don't anyway, especially if you've had a low risk anticlimactic birth experience and you end up home. And there is just such a lack of education. Even your OBGYN is like, come in for your 6-week visit, and there is a long gap from discharge to first OB visit, if you had, again, that low risk vaginal delivery. And so there's just such a long period of time where the moms are not being educated on what to look for. I can't tell you how many times I've had to cross the boundary of doula support with medical
advice, which I'm not technically supposed to do in just my traditional doula role. But because I have the education, I can't sit on it. If you're telling me that you have, this experience or headache, I've come to some of my family's homes with blood pressure cuffs and all kinds of things so that we can get more data to say something is off here. Vision being blurry, headaches, and they're like, well, no one told me to look for these signs. Maybe I just need to sleep it off. No, we're not going to sleep it off. And so I just think postpartum needs so much more care and education. Like we give all this education about what to expect with the pregnancy, and we've got all these pregnancy apps and all these pregnancy books and what to expect and pregnancy for dummies. But postpartum, we need so much more. So I think that is where Black and brown families have failed the most, because they can't afford the postpartum doula and the resources that can come in home, right? And so without that education, they are really at a standstill there with what to look for.
Dr. Lincoln, from your perspective?
Oh, thank you. No, I completely agree. I mean, the fact that how many of you have had kids and the thought that you see nobody from when you go home from the hospital or the birth center to 6 weeks, your life, how many lives have you lived in there and how many things have gone wrong? And I think that the fact that we just say it's fine, it's normal, it's normal. I have had people ask me, what is a normal symptom, pregnancy or postpartum? And I'm like, every symptom can be nothing or everything, and it's about context. And if you don't know where to go for that, you can really be harmed. And there is this idea that we treat women when they're pregnant like candy in a wrapper, right? And then you take the baby out, or the baby's born, and the candy's out, and you throw the wrapper away, and the women are the wrapper. And unfortunately, that is the reality in a country that does not value women, who does not want to pay them so that they can stay home and take care of their babies. And that is where we're shutting labor and deliveries, because it doesn't make money for hospitals. And so 50% of America has no OBGYN in their counties, and 30% of America is a maternal care desert where there's no labor and delivery or birth center. So postpartum is an extremely vulnerable period, in addition to pregnancy and antepartum as well. So education though, right? Education to say, that's not right. I'm not going to let you go to bed till you talk to your doctor. And then, oh wait, they said something's not right. We're going to go in, because the spidey senses, when a pregnant person says something's just not right, every doctor and every midwife should say, ooh, she needs to come in. And so I am sorry that you did not get that, because you deserved better. And we need to change that. I know I kind of went off the rails there, but.
That's all right. And for you, Dr. J? What I see is the dismissal of symptoms when they don't match the assumption of the providers or people taking care of them, when their pain is minimized and when their concerns are delayed. Voices are questioned. When we question our patient and say, are you sure? We just gave you the Tylenol or the Motrin just a half an hour ago. Are you sure? What helps is basically the gift of knowledge is everything, just like what we're saying now. Knowing what's normal, knowing what's not normal, knowing what questions to ask. What else could this be? That's a great question. I love my patients to ask me that. What else could this be? I'm having this pain. What else could it be? I shouldn't just get one diagnosis. I should do a differential diagnosis to find out, rule some things out. And then I can say, it's probably just that you're having this problem. But until we do that, we could miss so much. There used to be a phrase, the educated consumer is your best customer. It's true. I love my patients to come educated. And if not, we're going to educate them when they get to my office. It's very important, because we also want to know when a patient is informed, and when her support people are informed, her partner, that becomes a powerful team. So I want to be clear, the responsibility should not only be on the patient, it has to be on the people taking care of her and the systems. We have to change that. We can educate our patients all day, but we still have to listen to them when they come to us and tell us something's off, or when they have questions, or when they question a treatment option that we're giving them. We have to listen, and we have to sit down, and we have to make sure they're the center of care. Okay, we're not there to tell them what to do. We're there to give them the information so they can make an informed decision. And then we need informed consent. That's very important.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'd like to leave some time to ask the audience some questions, or have audience questions. So do we have someone walking around with the mic?
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lorinda. I am a social worker. I am also from the Bronx, so it was really nice to see such heavy emphasis on the Bronx. And I'm very grateful to hear from everyone on the panel. This is very powerful. I am not a mother, but I care for people's kids. So yes, I do apologize for not knowing names. My apologies. My initial question, and I still do have this question, is I appreciate like people, you all encouraging us to like advocate for ourselves, right? And I would like to hear, especially as those in the medical field, what are you doing for your staff to hold them accountable and listening to people when they share their pains or when they share their concerns? Because we can advocate for ourselves all we want, right? But if it doesn't change systematically, then how does that work? I appreciate everything that you said in the last response, because I feel like it definitely addressed a lot of those questions that were going off in my mind. But I'm just thinking how, unfortunately, right, with like systemic racism, how it's deemed more powerful coming from a white person, right? So I think I'm gonna aim that question, even though, like you shared in your part, even though it comes from all doctors, it's not only coming from white doctors, it's coming from everyone, which shows that anti-Blackness is alive and well in the medical industry. Like it seems that it's taught not to take our pain seriously, right? But I do want to turn it around on those who have privilege and ask, what specifically are y'all doing, like with your colleagues, when you're going to these huge conventions and things like that? Like, is this a source of conversation that's being had? Is there money being put? I know, Kathy Holtz was just put, like she put $8 million, I think, into this, but I'm saying like on a day-to-day basis, right? How is this conversation being had in regular practice? That's what I would like to know.
Thank you. No, that's an excellent question. I appreciate you asking it, because I think it should be asked, right? It should be the elephant in the room. And so much of what I say, right, you shouldn't have to do this, but here's how to advocate, but you might feel targeted and you might not be taken seriously. And yes, that's all true. And how are the systems, like you said, how are we fixing the systems? Because you shouldn't have to. So what are we actually doing about it, right? It shouldn't just be a soundbite or an Instagram post or something like that, 100%. I can speak for my hospital system. We have a birth equity committee. We have doulas on that committee, community members, people who report back, people who tell us, my client said this birth didn't go well and your nurse said this and you said that. How are we going to do it? What are we going to do about that? And I love when that comes up, because I'm like, oh, let's talk about it. But it's done in a way that it's not punitive and then therefore nobody ever says anything, but it's done to be like, let's do better. So you have to have these things in your system to hold people accountable, but to have it from an attitude of let's make this better, not let's penalize people. It's calling it out. So I'm in Portland, Oregon, like the whitest place ever, okay? Like literally, it's one of the whitest cities. And so when we do get patients who are patients of color, we will say it with my nurse. I'll be like, okay, she's Black, and I bet she might be scared. We got to think about this. We got to think about that. And I have a unit that's very open. We can talk about those things. I imagine is different in different parts of the country, and people who think these things aren't real, right? But they are. And so I think it is fostering that, and it is modeling too, how you treat or to call something out, and to teach in that way, and to review our data and review our numbers. And we break down our C-sections by race and ethnicity and all these things. And we address and see where our gaps are. Now, is my hospital perfect? Are we perfect? Absolutely not. But I think these are the sorts of things that you do in those systems, and you teach your learners and you call it out, because we have to. And we do the required reading, and it's always the person who doesn't want to do it who needs it the most kind of thing. So we just sit at the desk and we talk about it. But I really appreciate that question, because it's an important one. Thank you.
Staying on topic, just because that's a great question, and there are birth workers in the room, there are parents in the room, there's community, and there's also more hospital providers. And you mentioned being from Oregon, and I just want to bring it local, because we do have a OBGYN who's in the audience now, who works in the Bronx. Can I hand you the mic?
Hello.
Hi, so I'm Heather Ogunda. I'm one of the OBGYNs at North Central Bronx. I know Janet there, she was one of the midwives that I had the pleasure of working with. And FYI, NCB North Central Bronx has like the most midwives of all practices in New York City, so shout out to us. And we do work collaboratively with our midwives. They actually are the ones who do most of our labor care, so, you know, and then they consult us as necessary. We're there watching, but we're lower intervention than most. And then Jen and I have done a lot of work on reproductive rights kind of throughout the country, but something that you mentioned in terms of keeping people accountable, it's hard, okay? So this isn't the whitest place in the world, as we know, and we do have a lot of people of color, providers of color. I'm one, and we're not without bias. I've heard it from every person's mouth of all different backgrounds. And what really I think is problematic a lot of times is people's self-awareness, right? Because they're like, I'm either of that background or I've marched in the Black Lives Matter protest, I've done these things. There's no way that I can be biased, right? And so it's trying to call those things out as you see it. It's hard when you're also one of the only Black folks in the room, usually as a doctor. There's only 2% of doctors are Black women, so we're not very common. We may be more common in this realm of the world, but we're not regularly. And then as you get higher up in administrative roles, it gets even less. So that ability to kind of fight the power or change the narrative gets harder. But you know, we still try to use our voices. One big thing that I noticed though is that I feel like as somebody who's really does challenge the system a lot is actually how ingrained racism is in the system, like in the system. Like our hospitals are just given less money, are taken less seriously, are listened to less in these, like we can all meet as a hospital system, but North Central Bronx, which is our hospital, you know, Jacoby, which is our hospital, Lincoln that are our hospitals, when we are going to these big meetings amongst all of the health and hospital systems, the public hospital system in New York City, we're listened to less, we're given less money, we're doing those things, we ask, we require this, we can beat them till we're blue in the face and they're like, nope, like you don't need it, we're not gonna do that, we're not gonna trial this, you know? And so I think it's like a level of also transparency with the community and like getting the community involved. And a lot of these things will help because if they get pressure from a variety of different places, I think that's, you know, worthwhile. That's why some of the work I do is about making sure people know about systemic issues. But think about it this way, most of my patients at NCB are underinsured, uninsured. We have a lot of Medicaid patients. And the problem is Medicaid doesn't pay for prenatal vitamins. Medicaid doesn't pay for, you know, you to have like, you know, get your lactation support after, you know, all these different things that we know are useful and helpful and have been proven by evidence to do these things. And so it's like, I'm given 15 minutes with a patient, which I'm also double or triple booked. So it's not even that I have one patient in 15 minutes, I have 2 or 3. And it's like, you know, everybody has, as we know, a lot of issues going on, and the system is designed for us to not provide the best care that we can, even though we try. And then it's like we're also dealing with folks who are, you know, having trouble getting to the hospital because guess what? People have trouble getting the $3 to get on the bus or the train to see us. You know what I mean? People have problems taking off from work or getting childcare and stuff like that to see our patients, you know, to see their doctors. And so like prenatal care, where the Bronx is 62 out of 62 counties in New York City, or in New York State, I'm sorry, for entry into prenatal care. So, you know, we're having trouble with people starting that stuff. So I just think that it's like around, you know, like a big systemic issue that we need to deal with. And I think that we need more partnership with not just, you know, like, you know, just the community on the outside, but like bringing that into the hospital, because we have a lot of information to give you guys too that can really help hopefully impact change.
Yes to partnership, yes to collaboration. I want to shout out to March for Midwives because this is an opportunity to include that the stories we share can help shape policy, okay? So if you have a story, a request, and know that we are actively getting together. We have a crew called Mobilized Maternal Health Coalition, where we bring people and organizations together and determine what our shared priorities are and how to influence policy on a legislative and institutional level. So please get active if it's just simply sharing your story, but if you have more of a sphere of influence to get involved, there's information out there, okay? Do we have time for one more person? Okay.
Hello, thank you. I always thought that doulas and midwives were more focused on like home births. So I guess that has changed a little bit, but so I wanted to talk about that. I know years ago when I was considering, motherhood, I understood then that these statistics were kind of staggering, and the whole point of having a doula or a midwife was so you could be home, supported, and not worry about racism and not being advocated for, and you had someone who's qualified to assist you with your birth. Do you see high success rates in home births? Do you see more women opting for home births? Do you see in home births are babies, are there emergencies where they still have to go to the hospital? I just kind of remember it kind of being more focused on that so you could avoid this systemic stuff, trash, All right.
I'd like to first talk about midwives and where we practice. There are different kind of midwives, but there are 4 different types of midwife, I'll just say first of all. And I'm a CNM, which is a certified nurse midwife, and then there's CMs. I'm a nurse. There's CMs who are not nurses, but have done midwifery education, either graduate or doctorate level. And we can practice in any of the settings. We can practice in the hospital, in a birthing center, or in home births. And then you have CPMs who practice in home and in birth centers. And you have traditional midwives also who practice in the home, or the birth centers. So we are all across the spectrum, okay? And it's very important to know that a patient can start off in the home, and if they need to transfer, that's what I was talking about before. We need seamless transferring. We need the doula and the midwife to call from home and say, hey, we have a patient here. She needs whatever, antibiotics. She needs pain management at this point. Whatever it is, we're bringing her in. When she comes in, I'm going to welcome the doula and the midwife in with her. I'm not going to pull her team away from her at that point. So it's not going to be about, well, you can only have one person, your husband, and then I'm taking away her support. That's crazy. I'm going to let them in. I'm going to find a room, and we're going to go in and close the door. All of the time, administration may not always agree with us, but we are rebels, so we're going to close the door, and everybody's going to come in, and she's going to have her birth that way. And I want her to come in feeling supported, not that we're pulling anything away. Her birth plan didn't go as she first planned it, but we still can make it a beautiful experience.
Thank you so much. I want to jump that off to a topic that I think is essential. And if there's anything I'm missing, let me know. But we wanted to acknowledge some of the community doulas that are active in the Bronx and some of the organizations that we are in a wonderful network with. And when I hear the NCB midwife and OBGYN talking and how we work together, this is essential. I'm just gonna give a little visualization of when we do a seamless transfer and we bring our out-of-hospital birth clients from home or birth center into North Central Bronx. They greet our clients and say, hi, we are expecting you. Your midwife reached out to us. We have a room for you. That is how people should be received, not being guilted for choosing an option that is totally rightfully and should be available to them. So I just want to acknowledge that. And then I want to acknowledge the birth worker collectives that include Bronx Rebirth, if y'all know of them. Ashe, For Your Birth, Say Birthing Services. We have Conscious Birth Collective, which is one of the items we're gonna raffle off, where we do doula trainings and mentorship. So this is a birth community, and we are working together, seriously working together, all right? So I wanna shout out to Uptown, baby. That is our maternal health gala. Yes, okay. So it is on April 10th at the Bronx Museum, where 4 organizations are coming together to basically have a party and raise funds. Okay, this is a maternal health gala, the first of its kind. If you don't know, you can follow any of those organizations on social media, and it's gonna support Mariam Reproductive Health and Wellness Clinic, Bronx Rebirth, the Bridge Community Foundation, and Doulas en Español. All right, so just wanted to mention that, and I think it's about time. Okay, is that okay? Just what I would like to do, you can say whatever you'd like. I'll just say that the next things up right now is to honor Brittany, and then we would do the closing reflections as a group. But if you want to insert something before Brittany, you let me know.
There was one more question, and anyone can answer this, but after everything we've seen and heard tonight, what is one hope you have for the future of birth in the Bronx and beyond?
Ooh, that's part of the post. Okay, yeah, okay.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. That's
Sorry.
After. No, we're good. So this is a time where I want to recognize Brittany. We are excitedly wanting to honor her, a filmmaker who had a passion for creating a piece that could facilitate conversations such as this. Brittany was courageous and made a film that is partly, it's particular, and it has it's a beautiful fact that she didn't have any background in documentary filmmaking. And she said, I'm going to do this because this subject matters to me, and how can we influence the hearts and minds of people to know and get excited and care and figure out what we're gonna do together. So Brittany made this film, and I would love to honor her, and unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight. She had a death in her family and has to be present. And so what she did was she sent a message of gratitude and purpose that she'd like to share with us. And play.
Good night, everyone. This is Brittany Russell. To all that have come out tonight to support not only my film, but the fight for maternal health, I truly thank you. The Bronx has not only been my home, but a fertile ground for my artistry and activism. My documentary, You Are Not Alone, was birthed out of curiosity. Why does the Bronx suffer the most? Why are the women in our borough against harsh conditions based on their zip codes? And mostly, how can I help? What is God calling me to do with my resources to amplify my neighborhood and my community? I listened to the call and began documenting the extraordinary borough. The food, the culture, the people, the vibrant community, and then my main focus, Black women in the Bronx. I realized quickly while filming that when you save women, you save our children. And when you save the community, you eventually save the world. I am more than honored to have my film be a raindrop in the ocean of this ongoing discussion regarding the advocacy for our women. Taking up my camera has been the best decision of my life. To my subjects, Chelsea, Nicole, Janae, Monique, Dara, and Vanessa Gibson, thank you for allowing me to peek into your enormous lives that are colorful and filled with so much strength, softness, adventure, and advocacy. To the panelists, thank you for continuing the fight for maternal health justice. It is not an easy task, and many of the times it is thankless, but I thank you. To Myla, thank you for continuing to be a vessel and advocate for equitable maternal health outcomes. You are a true champion. To Bronx Bethany Church of the Nazarene, thank you for being a staple in my life, my walk, my upbringing, and my creativity. Thank you for allowing one of yours to merge the two most precious things in her life, community and advocacy. I hope you all take this conversation beyond tonight and find ways to speak on the behalf of women and find small ways throughout your life to help someone else. I love you all from the bottom of my heart, and thank you so much.
So Brittany just shared her hopes, and we would love to hear from all of you, you included, about a hope, and then want to popcorn at least a few extra words into the space. We don't need a mic for that. We could just call words out, right? So feel free.
Sure. Well, my hope is just to bring more awareness to all communities. Thank you for allowing me to come to the Bronx today to be a moderator for this beautiful panel of beautiful women. But my hope is that we just make more people aware.
Yes.
Thank you. Awareness.
Awareness.
My hope is that we go out in the community and we start to talk to our youth and we let them know about different careers in birth work. They need to know a midwife. They need to know a doula. They need to know a lactation consultant because we need to have them in the pipeline. We need more midwives. If every woman wanted to have a midwife and a doula, there's not enough of us. So we need to start talking about this now and make sure that they are aware of what they can have, what their options are when they are going through childbirth, but also as a career option. So we need to start talking to them in public school, in junior high school, and high school, so they can go straight into this. Because the majority of midwives and doulas that I have met have done it after they've had a baby. They're in their 20s, 30s. They've already done a career and done education already. Why don't they know about it beforehand?
Yeah.
Empowering our youth with knowledge and more midwives.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how many babies were born while we were sitting here doing this panel, but my hope would be that those babies that were born here in the Bronx during this panel, that when they're our ages, having their own babies, that if somebody told them what was discussed tonight, they would be able to say, I can't believe that's how it used to be done, and that there's change for those kids long before that.
Yes.
The rate of stillbirth in the Bronx is 13.8 for every 1,000 births. That's unconscionable. My hope is that that rate can go down significantly because there's no reason for that to happen.
My hope is that undisturbed birth becomes prevalent and that birth becomes less of an emergency. And my prayer is that doulas and midwives and the birth work community becomes less crunchy and are seen for what the work that we put in, so that we can be respected in the birth space in a different way.
Yes. Let's get a few hopes from the audience. Just use your voice and I'll reflect back.
My hope is that future generations, the current ones, continue to be held by the wisdom of midwives, of community birth workers, that we continue to truly center families and provide the care and dignity that we all deserve, and to just know that care beyond pregnancy is what we're all deserving.
Yes, future generations, current generations being held by the community, including the community birth workers. Anyone else?
My hope is that we recall who we are as powerful women who are able to give birth with little intervention, without the crunchiness, and to revisit that and remind our future generations of that. We have the power to do this without health care unless it's an emergency. We're not surgical patients because we're pregnant.
Recalling and reclaiming our power. Yes. Someone else. Yes, less fear around birth. And I'm gonna just stream that right along to more knowledge, more empowerment, more community leads to more empowered experiences and better birth outcomes. And so with that, we're just gonna raffle off some stuff. All right, so we have more books, we have t-shirts, we have this bag when I'm done with it. This is the Conscious Birth Collective bag. And Mobilize Maternal Health shirts as well. 50 by 50 shirts in a small, medium, and large. All right, so let's get.
Look, let me pull out my ticket.
I'm just gonna dig in here.
This is the panel's
For
ticket. We got
5.
one collective ticket.
Do you want to help me? You can help. Okay, cool. So these ones are gonna be for Janet's book, which are right here. This is, oh, they're right here, great. So this is for this one, Transitions, a 4th trimester journal, as in when you're a parent to journal. Okay, I'm gonna give that to you to give to whoever has this number. 544014. 014. You have to be present to win. Okay. I'll give it another minute because you might realize it was you. And this one, can you hold this one? This is for this number, okay? This is 043. Oh, but hold up, let me tell you about the book. Transitions, a Midwife's Pregnancy Reflection Journal. Wait a second. Oh, yes. Is this supposed to be raffled as a team or?
No, it's separate.
Okay, okay. 043. 043? No? Okay. So I'm just gonna read off numbers. We're past time. Okay, so yeah, okay. So it's like a listen for your number, be about know your last 3 digits of your number because we want you to connect and mingle. There's food out there. You've been sitting a while, so please be free, stand up, move around, use the bathroom. And also there's a place where you can interact with the board and write down what you love about midwives, be a part of our carousel, March for Midwives. And do you want to say anything?
I just wanted to give a shout out to Bronx Bound Books, who is here tonight. So if you do not win one of the free copies, please speak with Latanya, who's in the back, and she has copies that you can purchase. For those of you who are watching virtually, I believe on the screen virtually there is a QR code where you can order directly from Latanya as well. And we've got Dr. Jen here to do to sign books for anybody who gets one tonight. And I just wanted to again give a huge thank you to all of our panelists, to Kia for coming in for this, Dr. Jen coming in for this, to all of you. Like, we're just so lucky to have these incredible people in our community. One thing I wanted to raise my hand for the question of vision and stuff. One hope that I have for the future is that we get more people of privilege like Dr. Jen and Ashley who are really using their voices to raise the boat for all of us, because that's true collaboration and partnership, and that's community. So thank you guys for all you do, and thank all of you for all you do. And yeah, we want you all to have time to speak, meet our panel and talk to each other. So please join us in the back room there, in the Founders Hall, for some refreshments. And there's lots of also free goodies out in the main hall. So please help yourselves conversation and listen, because we're gonna be finishing off the giveaways while we're there.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just gonna say all the numbers now because I know who's getting what. So as you walk, feel free. So we have 038. Yay! Okay, so you get a book. You get one of these. Okay. We have 017. 017. Yes. We have 021.
Thank you all for joining us this evening. As you see, there's a lot of conversation. We went a little over 10 because there's just too much to talk about birth. So thank you for being here in this space with us virtually. We really appreciate all of the interaction on the internet here. We saw a lot of commentary about your own birth experiences and those that serve others. I really appreciate you sharing that. You feel a lot of people was in the film and that you're working with us to change. So thank you for all that you all do. We welcome you to please purchase this book through our local seller here in the Bronx, Bronx Bound Books, who's been so kind to come here. We also have the code available for you all, so please feel free to take that code as I put it back up and get a book. This would be a great gift for anyone who's currently pregnant or will be expecting at one point, or you just want in your own library of resources. You'll look through this book and there's so much information that is not in every birthing book. And this was written by Obi, as you saw today, who really does get it and really understands the needs of all our community. So we welcome you to check that out and share. Please share. Keep sharing your knowledge with us as well at Push. We welcome everyone to continue to let us know what we can do to help you as well in your future efforts and events. And here we have for you the information about the book. So we welcome you to go ahead and scan this. I'm going to hide that panel. Sorry for all the technical difficulties tonight. We try to mix it up here at the church. And again, a very, very huge, heartfelt thank you from us and the Birthing Place Foundation for this venue at Bronx Bethany. We don't know how we could have done any of this and brought you into this space without them. So thank you for all the technical support, and for, of course, the beautiful, safe space to have this conversation amongst family members of Brittany. I'm sure a lot of people here were here to support her as well in her film. So thank you so much. Have a great, pleasant evening. I have Margie here. Thank you, Margie, always representing for Push. And we really do want to help prevent stillbirth. So if there's any way we can share our knowledge with all of you, we have resources for providers to take educational courses, such as the stillbirth prevention course. We have a pregnancy after loss trauma-informed care course. For anyone who wants to see credits for that, you can look at our website, pushpregnancy.org, and find that for yourselves and share it. Please share everything that you've seen here today. I'm going to show a few things on screen here so you make sure you know where to find us. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much. Be safe and be well. And please make sure, again, to share what you saw today. You can share this live. It will be live on YouTube and Facebook. And we'll put some clips on our Instagram as well. And thank you to all the people that support Push for Empowered Pregnancy and our efforts to end preventable stillbirth, because that is definitely why we do everything we do, as you heard from multiple people, both Ashley on the panel and Marjorie's story. We have experienced a tragic loss of a baby and a child throughout our whole life. We miss them, and we don't want anyone else to suffer in that way. So please continue to help us spread the word, share our tips, and let us know if we can again collaborate in any future events. Have a good night. Bye.